This is Lemmy with RevZilla. Welcome to the best beginner motorcycle gear of 2019. Now, if you're watching this video, I know that you've probably either just purchased a motorcycle or you're just about to. And you're probably also looking for some protective equipment to go along with that bike, and you've probably also found there's a myriad of options, some of which can be rather confusing. Hopefully we can sort of work you through some of that, though, with some of the items that we have found that work really well for folks as they begin their motorcycle journey. Now, when you're looking for gear, of course, function really does matter here. That's the name of the game. However, you need to look good in your gear as well. It needs to make you happy to put it on and go ride in it. And of course, there's also an economic element to this as well. Unlike most experienced motorcycles who can replace one piece of gear at a time as they wear out, you're kind of stuck buying the whole gamut all at once. So price definitely comes into play, I think, for most folks who are jumping onto a motorcycle. Now, in order to highlight some of the picks that we think might be just right for you, we've sort of split things up into a couple of different rider profiles. And we find that most people will usually sort of identify with one or the other. So if one of these perhaps riders sounds just like you, make sure you stay tuned because we're going to have all sorts of gear that's going to work well for you. So now let's get right into things. We're going to talk about our first rider profile, which is really more of a sporty rider. I think this is folks who tend to skew a little bit younger. These are folks too who are looking to kind of get that sport aesthetic. Though they're not going full race, they are looking to sort of give off that vibe just a little bit. We usually see these folks on 250, 300, or 400 class bikes. You'll notice that our profile rider here is on a Ninja 400. This may resemble you. So we're going to start off with a piece of gear I think is super important. That's the AGV K1 Helmet. Now, this is a great beginner helmet. Now, I'm sure if you've been doing any of your own research, you'll find that there's lots of helmets sort of in this end of the price range, and figuring out exactly what you should be getting can be difficult. Note that most of the helmets are going to be very protective, but be a little bit short on frills, and I think that's actually okay. When you're just starting out, you don't need to pay for a bunch of excess frippery. You need a good, solid helmet. Now, the downside with helmets in this particular part of the price range is they can be kind of amorphous. Some of them just look sort of like blobs. They don't have much shape to them. They don't convey an aggressive attitude. The K1 is definitely not that helmet. This thing is very sporty, very aggressive looking. The hawkbill, I think, lends a really racy look to the helmet. Of course, we've got that signature spoiler on the back. It makes this thing really look like the cousin, the much more expensive cousin that comes off of the GP grid. And of course, it is easy on the wallet. So congratulations to AGV for cranking this thing out and making it into our best beginner pick for 2019. Now we're going to move into another piece of important equipment, and that's your jacket. And this here, for the sporty rider, we've selected the Alpinestars TGP Plus RV2 Air Jacket. Now, this particular jacket, although hard to say, is a wonderful jacket, again, because this is a solid, basic item. Now, no matter who you are, there's almost always room in your closet for a great mesh jacket. Now, this thing, of course, is very protective. We've got CE Level 2 armor at the elbows, at the shoulders. There's also a spot for a back protector. I would highly encourage you to pick one of those up if you are considering this jacket. But this is a jacket that's built sturdily enough to last you through several seasons. That's important. Again, when you are sort of starting out and you do realize you have to be price sensitive to things, you're also going to get lots of bang for the buck. You can amortize the cost over this thing over several years. And again, this thing flows a bundle of air. That's important for those of you who are out there riding in the summertime. You may not realize it because you might not have been on a motorcycle yet. However, what feels like a nice day when you're in your normal street clothes can be unbearably hot on a bike. You've got the sun beating down on you, you've got all these layers of protective clothing, you've got heat from the engine coming off of you. So having gear that moves air through it will keep you comfortable when you're on the bike. Now we're going to round this out with this set of shoes here, TCX riding shoes, specifically the Blazes, won our pick for 2019. These are an excellent riding shoe for beginners simply because I think they split the difference very nicely between a sneaker that may not offer any protection at all and a full-on boot. Now these particular boots are pretty neat. There's lots of protection that we have inside of this boot. There's malleolus protection that protects those knobby bones that stick out the side of your ankle. There's also a toe box. We've got a heel cup in here. It provides way more protection than just an average street shoe, which you don't want to wear if you're on a motorcycle. However, unlike a full-on race style boot, you've got lots of feel from these. The soles will bend, you can walk around off the bike with them. It doesn't make you feel all weird. The important thing here is feel. Because the soles are fairly thin and they do move well, you'll get lots of feel from the bike. That's important when you're digging for a shifter on a downshift, or perhaps you're going to hit that brake pedal. What you need is feedback from the motorcycle, and the TCX Blaze Boots are going to provide it to you while also getting you the protection you need. So that's going to round it out for our sportier rider. As you can see, these items represent function, but they also really do look good. They're going to work well, I think, with the aesthetic of most riders trying to achieve that sporty but not quite race look. Now, the next group that we see lots of beginning riders sort of sort themselves into is the rider who's looking for a bit more traditional appearance, something a little bit more relaxed, in gear that looks just as good off the bike as it does on the bike. For these riders who tend to be a little bit older and are willing to spend a little bit more money, comfort is just as much a priority as function. Now, you'll notice here, of course, our profile rider is on a Triumph Thruxton, which really just speaks to how wide an array of bikes these particular pieces will work for. Now, we're going to kick things off with the Merlin Alton jacket. This is one of our great jackets for 2019. This particular piece I think is going to work well for lots and lots of different folks. This is the little black dress of motorcycle gear. It's going to work well on a really wide variety of motorcycles. This is, of course, a protective jacket. We've got elbow armor, we've got shoulder armor. There is a pocket for a back protector, which is normally purchased separately, which I would encourage you to look into if you're checking out the Merlin. However, this jacket I think offers a styling element that you're going to have a rough time finding in this price range for a lot of folks. So you'll notice the branding on here is fairly subtle for this particular jacket. And the thing I think I like best about it is this matte finish. All too often, rookie riders don't want to be identified as rookies, and I completely understand that. Nobody wants to look like they're brand new. The matte finish on this jacket kind of looks like it's been in play for a long time, even when you just take it out of the box. Now, moving south from there, you'll notice the REAX 610 jeans. The 610 jean is a phenomenal jean for a number of reasons, but I think style comes in first. Now, of course, the protection aspect is here. We've got sort of a Kevlar twill liner almost inside this jean. That's a little bit different than the Kevlar that's been actually woven into the strands of fiber themselves. It's going to give a lot of protection, and yet the jean does come in at a very aggressive price. Now, the big winner for me here again is the style. These are just regular jeans. They don't have that weird frumpy look that some of the other cheap motorcycle riding jeans can sometimes achieve, and they definitely don't hit that sort of fashion jean you'll see all the way at the opposite end of the price spectrum. The really expensive stuff tends to be aggressively cut and very overstyled. If you're looking for something that just looks like a normal jean, the 610 should be a go-to piece for you. Now, rounding things out, we've got the TCX Mood Shoe. This is our next item. I feel like this is a go-to. It's going to be for a lot of riders simply because this is a shoe that offers lots and lots of riding protection in a super casual package. This is a boot that's going to look just as good on your feet at the water cooler at work as it is on the motorcycle. The other thing you're getting with these two is a little bit of waterproof protection with that Gore-Tex liner inside these. It means these are going to be a waterproof shoe as well. Great for commuting for those of you who are, again, trying to spend hours on your motorcycle in order to further your own riding education. Also really helpful, I think, too, as far as keeping your tootsies warm. If you have this set up, it's going to help you extend your riding season just a little bit deeper into the fall. Again, I think sort of maximizing the value that you may be getting out of these as a first piece of gear. So that's going to round it out, I think, for our sort of classic rider. You can see that these are pieces, I think, that focus pretty heavily on style. You'll invest a little bit more money in these, perhaps, than something a little bit more function-driven, but I think the look is well worth it for a lot of riders, and I suspect that you're going to agree. That's going to round things out for the best beginner gear of 2019. Whether you're on a very sporty or aggressive motorcycle, or perhaps you're looking for a more traditional classic look, or maybe you just fall somewhere in between, just about any of the gear we've selected should perform very well for you. Now, if you have any questions about any of the items you've seen in our 2019 Gear Guide series, head over to RevZilla for videos, articles, and our expert opinion on your upcoming riding season. As always, I'm Lem, and I'm out of here.